Chosen one, don't react. Watch this alone. I need you to do something before I say another word. Look around you right now. Actually do it not metaphorically, not as a figure of speech. Look around you and notice who is in the room, who is within earshot, who might walk in and catch pieces of what you're about to receive. Because what I am going to say to you today is not content, it is not entertainment. It is not something designed to pass the time or to produce a temporary emotional lift that evaporates by tomorrow morning. It is a mirror, a specific, honest, sometimes uncomfortable mirror held up to the interior of your life with the kind of precision that only works when you are alone enough to actually look into it without the social performance that other people's presence always produces. Do not react. That is the instruction. Not because what I am going to say will be easy to hear, some of it will not be, but because your first reaction to anything significant is almost never your truest response. It is your protective response, the one shaped by habit, by ego, by the accumulated defenses of a person who has learned that being caught off guard is dangerous. Underneath that reaction, beneath the instinct to deflect or dismiss or immediately contextualize what is being said into something more comfortable, is the real response, the honest one. The one that knows the truth before the defensive mind has a chance to negotiate with it. That real response is what this conversation is designed to reach, and it can only do that if you let it, alone, without the performance that other people's presence demands, without the management of what someone else might think about what you are receiving. Just you, and the truth, and the quiet that makes truth actually land. Let me describe what has been happening in your interior life, not the version you present to the world, but the actual version. You have been reacting, for longer than you realize, to people, to circumstances, to words spoken carelessly and words never spoken at all, to the disappointments that accumulated without resolution, to the misunderstandings that didn't get corrected in time, to the treatments you received that you never fully addressed because addressing them felt more costly than absorbing them. And the accumulation of all that unreacted to, unprocessed, quietly absorbed material has been doing something to you. It has been building a layer between you and your genuine responses, a buffer zone of managed emotion, the place where your real feelings go to be evaluated, modified, and either expressed in acceptable form or quietly contained so that the surface of your life remains functional and presentable. Most people who observe you would not see this layer. You are skilled at the management. You have had a long time to practice it. The exterior is composed, capable, even inspiring to the people who look at your life from the outside. But you feel it, in the specific tiredness that composure produces when it is maintained for too long without rest. In the moments when something small triggers a response that is far larger than the trigger justifies because the small thing accessed the accumulation beneath it. In the growing distance between who you appear to be and who you know yourself to actually be in the honest, private moments. That distance is not who you are. It is what has built up over a season of reacting rather than responding, of managing rather than processing, of keeping it together when what you actually needed was the permission and the space to come apart a little, honestly, without an audience. This conversation is that permission. And the instruction not to react is the instruction to stop managing just for the next several minutes and actually receive what your interior life has been waiting for you to receive. Your reactive pattern is protecting you from something. Find out what every person who lives in a chronic reactive pattern, who responds to life from the surface rather than from the depth, is doing so for a reason that is specific to their particular story. Reactivity is not a character flaw. It is a protection. It is the specific, learned, once adaptive response of someone who discovered, at some point in their history, that genuine response was dangerous. That showing what you actually feel produced outcomes that were worse than containing it. That the managed surface was safer than the honest depth. That discovery was probably accurate at the time it was made. In the specific environment, with the specific people, at the specific developmental stage in which you learn to react rather than respond, the reactive pattern was the right tool for the situation. The problem is not that you developed it. The problem is that you have been applying a tool designed for a past environment to a present situation that actually requires something different, that you have been carrying a protection mechanism designed for a danger that may no longer exist or may exist in a form that the protection is no longer adequately addressing. What is the reactive pattern protecting you from? What is the specific thing that genuine, unhurried, unmanaged response would expose the vulnerability, the need, the grief, the desire that the reactivity keeps contained? Find it, name it, not to immediately fix it or share it or resolve it, simply to know what it is, because the thing you are protecting yourself from is almost always more manageable once it is seen clearly than it appeared when it was being kept in the dark through reactive containment. The responses you have been swallowing are not gone, they are accumulating. This is a truth that the body knows before the mind acknowledges it. Every emotional response that is managed, rather than genuinely processed, every feeling that is evaluated, modified, and contained rather than experienced and released, does not disappear. It accumulates. It goes somewhere specific in the body and in the psyche, and it stays there, adding to what was already present, contributing to a weight that grows with each addition. The exhaustion you feel that sleep does not fully resolve. The chronic low-grade tension that is simply present as a baseline. The disproportionate responses that occasionally break through the surface when a small thing accesses the accumulated pressure beneath it. These are not character weaknesses. They are the symptoms of a system that has been managing rather than processing for an extended period. The body keeps the score. This is not metaphor, it is physiology. Unprocessed emotional content produces measurable physiological effects. Elevated cortisol, disrupted sleep architecture, compromised immune function, reduced cognitive performance. The management costs more than it appears to cost. What would it mean to genuinely process something today, not manage it, but actually feel it, name it, move through it rather than contain it? What would become available in the space that the containment is currently occupying? That space, cleared, is where the things this season is trying to bring into your life actually have room to land. Not reacting does not mean not feeling, it means choosing your response. I want to clarify something important, because the instruction not to react can be misunderstood as the instruction to become emotionally flat, to manage the feeling into non-existence, rather than the reaction into wisdom. That is not what I mean, and that is not what this season requires. Not reacting means the deliberate, chosen, practiced pause between stimulus and response, in which you have the space to access what you actually feel, the genuine, honest, full-depth feeling, and then choose your response from that authentic place rather than from the automatic, defensive, self-protective mechanism that reactivity represents. It is more feeling, not less. More honesty, not more. Management. More access to your genuine interior, not a more sophisticated version of the containment that has been exhausting you. The space between stimulus and response, the pause that non-reactivity creates, is where your actual self lives. It is where the wisdom accumulated through everything this season has taught you resides. It is where the chosen person you are becoming makes decisions, rather than the reactive person you have sometimes been making them from the pressure of the moment. Develop that space. Not by suppressing the feeling, by feeling it fully enough that the response can be chosen from its honest depth rather than from its automatic surface. The people who trigger you most are showing you what needs the most healing. This truth is uncomfortable in direct proportion to how true it is for you specifically, so I want you to receive it with the openness that discomfort sometimes requires. The people and situations that provoke your strongest reactive responses, that get under your skin in ways that seem disproportionate to what they are actually doing, are not simply annoying or hurtful or difficult. They are mirrors. They are showing you, with the specificity that only triggers can produce, the specific places in your interior where something unresolved is still living. This does not mean those people are not difficult. Some of them genuinely are. It does not mean their behavior is acceptable or that you should continue to expose yourself to it. It means that the intensity of your response to them, the specific activation that they produce, is information about you, not just about them. Information about what remains tender, what remains unhealed, what remains beneath the composed surface of your managed exterior, still raw enough to be accessed by the right pressure applied in the right place. That information is valuable, not because you owe it to the people who activated it to continue being activated by them, but because knowing where, The unhealed places is the prerequisite for actually healing them, and healing them is what removes the power that triggers currently have over your responses. The trigger is not the enemy, it is the diagnostic, and the diagnosis received honestly is the beginning of the treatment. Silence before response is one of the most powerful things a chosen person can practice. There is a discipline that the most effective, most genuinely powerful people across every domain of human endeavor share in common that is rarely discussed as the significant contributor to their effectiveness that it actually is. They pause before they respond, not in the awkward, conspicuous way that makes interactions feel stilted. In the natural, unrushed way of someone who is genuinely present enough with what is being experienced that their response emerges from that presence rather than from the automatic processing of a reactive system. That pause, the specific, practiced, intentional silence between receiving and responding, is one of the most powerful things you can develop. It is where the wisdom of this entire season becomes available for application. It is where the distinction between what you feel and what you choose to do with what you feel is made. It is where chosen people make the specific decisions that determine the quality of everything that follows. Begin practicing it today. In small interactions, first the ones where the stakes are low enough to allow for experimentation. Take one breath before responding to anything that would normally produce an immediate reaction. One breath, that is the beginning of the practice. And the practice, sustained over time, produces a quality of response that the reactive pattern never could, because it comes from the depth rather than the surface. Your reactions have been costing you relationships, opportunities, and peace. I want to say this with the directness it deserves, because the cost is real, and naming it clearly is what creates the motivation to actually change the pattern. Reactive responses have been closing doors that remained closed. Conversations that could have led somewhere significant ended early because the reactive response came before the genuine connection had a chance to develop. Relationships that had the potential to become meaningful stalled at the surface because the reactive pattern created distance before depth was possible. Opportunities that would have required a quality of sustained, non-reactive engagement to develop were lost because the reactive response made that engagement impossible to maintain. This is not condemnation. It is an honest accounting of what an unexamined reactive pattern costs over time, and that accounting is only useful if it produces the specific motivation to invest in the alternative. The alternative, the non-reactive, genuinely present, depth-first engagement that the relationships and opportunities your life is designed for require, is available. It is not a personality type that some people have and others don't. It is a practice, a developed capacity. A chosen way of showing up that becomes more available the more deliberately it is cultivated. And the relationships, the opportunities, and the peace that await on the other side of that cultivation are worth every investment the development requires. What you are about to step into requires a non-reactive version of you here, is where the personal becomes prophetic, where the inner work of this conversation connects to the external reality of what your life is moving toward. The next chapter of your life, the one that this entire season has been preparing you for, the one that the calling you carry is moving you toward, requires a version of you that is significantly less reactive than the version that has been navigating the current season. Not because the next chapter will be free of provocation. It will contain more of it, not less, because the higher the level of impact, the more sophisticated and persistent the resistance to that impact becomes. But because operating effectively at the level of what is coming, making the decisions it will require, maintaining the relationships it will demand, sustaining the vision it will need sustained through the specific challenges it will bring, requires a quality of non-reactive presence and wisdom that the reactive pattern fundamentally cannot support. The inner work of this season, the development of the pause, the healing of the triggers, the clearing of the accumulated material, the choosing of response over reaction, is not separate from the preparation for what is coming. It is the preparation for what is coming. The non-reactive version of you is the version the next chapter needs. And that version is built exactly the way all significant things are built, through the specific, deliberate, consistently applied practice of becoming something on purpose. Solitude is not loneliness, it is the laboratory of chosen people. The instruction to watch this alone, to be in this specific conversation without the presence or performance that other people's company produces, is not an invitation to isolation. It is an invitation to the specific, productive, developmentally essential relationship with solitude that every chosen person needs to cultivate. The relationship that most people in the reactive, always connected, never fully alone modern world have lost access to, and that the specific, quiet, genuinely present relationship with their own interior requires. Solitude is where you hear what the noise of constant company drowns out, where you access the intuition that crowd-dependent living consistently suppresses, where you process what the social performance of daily interaction does not leave space for, where you become, more fully and more honestly, the person you actually are, rather than the version you produce for external consumption. Chosen people need solitude the way growing. Things need soil, not instead of relationship in addition to it, as the specific environment in which the interior development that genuine relationship eventually requires can actually occur. If you have not been giving yourself adequate solitude, if the discomfort of being alone with yourself has been driving you into constant company as a form of management, consider what that avoidance is costing. And consider what might become available if you gave yourself the specific, regular, protected solitude that your interior life is asking for. The quiet strength of a non-reactive chosen person is unmistakable and irreplaceable. There is a quality that the Vihana, non-reactive chosen person carries that is immediately felt by everyone in their presence, even before it is understood, even before its source is identified. It is the specific quality of someone who is fully present without being anxious, who receives what is happening around them without being destabilized by it, who can sit with difficulty, with uncertainty, with provocation and remain, at their core, grounded in something that the difficulty cannot reach. That groundedness is not indifference. It is not the emotional flatness of someone who has suppressed their feeling into invisibility. It is the profound, hard-won settledness of someone who has done the interior work of knowing themselves deeply enough that external pressure cannot shake the foundation. People feel this quality before they can name it. They experience it as safety, as trustworthiness, as the specific kind of leadership that does not require performance or volume to be recognized. They find themselves wanting to be in proximity to it, wanting to share their real thoughts and their real struggles with the person who carries it, because the groundedness communicates, without words, that what is brought will not cause collapse. That is the person you are becoming, through this season, through the specific, costly, often invisible work of developing the non-reactive depth that this conversation has been describing. The world needs that person. The people in your life need that person. And the calling on your life will be exercised most powerfully through exactly that person. Become them fully. It is worth everything that becoming requires. The most powerful response to everything you have been through is to let it make you wiser, not harder the final truth. The one I want to rest in you longest after this conversation ends. Everything you have been through, every provocation that triggered the reactive pattern, every disappointment that added to the accumulated weight, every situation that tested your capacity to respond rather than react has been offering you a choice. Not consciously, not as an explicit decision presented for your evaluation, but a choice nonetheless. The choice about what you do with what life brings, about whether what you have experienced makes you more contracted or more expanded, more defended or more discerning, harder or wiser. Hard and wise are not the same thing, though they are often confused. Hard is the contracted, defended, don't let anything through quality that sustained difficulty can produce in people who have absorbed it without processing it. It looks like strength from the outside. It produces protection, but it also prevents the genuine connection, the full receiving, the complete presence that chosen people are built to offer and that the reactive pattern, taken to its extreme, calcifies into. Wise is something completely different. Wise is the expanded, discerning, having been through enough to know quality that the same sustained difficulty produces in people who have processed it honestly. It also looks like strength, because it is strength, but it is the kind that expands rather than contracts, that receives rather than only deflects. That leads from depth rather than from the defended surface. The experiences that have been trying to make you hard have the capacity received differently to make you wise. The same raw material, a different choice about what to do with it. Make that choice today, consciously, specifically, as a named, deliberate decision about who you are going to be in response to everything this season has brought. not harder. Wiser, not more defended. More discerning, not more reactive. More present. That choice, made today and renewed daily, is the most powerful response available to everything you have been through. And it is the one that honors most completely what the chosen designation on your life was always meant to produce. I want to close this conversation in the same space it began. Alone with you. Directly. You came into this conversation carrying something. The weight of the reactive pattern. The accumulated material of unprocessed seasons. The specific exhaustion of someone who has been managing rather than living, composing rather than experiencing for longer than the composure was designed to be maintained. And I want to acknowledge something about that weight before I tell you what is available on the other side of it. Carrying it as long as you have, with the dignity you have maintained, while still moving forward, still believing, still building, still showing up, is one of the most specific forms of courage available to a human being. It is not the dramatic, visible, applauded courage that the world celebrates. It is the quiet, daily, nobody-is-watching courage of continuing to choose well under a weight that justified stopping. That courage is real. It has not gone unnoticed by the one who sees everything the world overlooks. And what I want to offer you, as this conversation comes to its close, is not just the vision of who you are becoming. It is the specific, practical, today available invitation to begin. Begin the pause. Begin the processing. Begin the honest, unhurried, alone with yourself relationship with your own interior that this entire conversation has been pointing toward. Not tomorrow. Not when the circumstances are better, or the season is easier, or the weight is somehow lighter. Today. In the specific, ordinary, unremarkable reality of your actual life as it actually exists right now. Because the non-reactive, deeply grounded, wisdom-carrying chosen person that this season has been building, the one who meets the next chapter with the specific quality of presence that what is coming requires, is not a future version of you that will arrive automatically when enough time has passed. They are you, making a specific choice, today, about how to receive what life brings, about what to do with what has accumulated, about whether to continue reacting from the surface or to begin responding from the depth. That choice is yours. It has always been yours. And you have everything you need to make it. Watch this alone. Let it land completely. Do not react. And then from the quiet, honest, fully received place that this conversation was designed to create, decide who you are going to be from this moment forward. The answer, I believe, is already in you. It has been there throughout, waiting for the quiet to make itself heard. This was the quiet. Now listen to what it says. If this conversation reached something real in you today, if something specific shifted in the quiet of receiving it, subscribe. Every week we bring you the kind of deep, honest, psychologically and spiritually grounded content that chosen people need at the exact moments their journey demands it. You are not who the reactive pattern has sometimes made you appear. You are who the depth knows you to be. Keep going, from the depth, without the reaction, with everything you actually are.